My name is Lynn Ferguson, and you have tuned in to Lynn Spins. I thank you for joining me today. We will be discussing a very solemn, gruesome, disturbing topic. A 24-year-old young black man was murdered. He was lynched in Ferguson, Missouri, and his mom found his body October 17th. My mom wanted me to do this story because she knows the mother, and the mother's an activist, my mom's an activist. We need to get this out there. It's been weighing heavily on everyone's heart who's heard the story, whom has heard the story. I'm going to get into some of the research I've done regarding or on this topic. I'll go ahead and read an article from Essence. All right. The title of the article is "What Happened to Donnie Jones, Son of Ferguson Activist Found Hanged from Tree." This is through Essence, the news entity, by Brianna Edwards. Melissa McKinney wrote in a now deleted Facebook post that her son, Donnie Jones, was lynched. Early this month, on October 17th, Ferguson activist Melissa McKinney found her 24-year-old son, Donnie Jones, dead, hanging from a tree. McKinney is well known in her community for having participated in numerous protests in Ferguson since the August 2014 death of Michael Brown, believes that her son was lynched. In a Facebook post that has since been deleted, McKinney shared graphic images of her son under the caption, "They lynched my baby. I'm sick and losing my mind, but I had to let the world see what they did to my baby!" Exclamation point, she added. Screenshots of the post and images have since been shared across social media, as many people ask not only what happened to Donnie Jones, but why is no one reporting on the incident. The hashtag Donnie Jones has been circulated across Twitter. "This is Donnie Jones," wrote a tweeter on Twitter, Brittany Packnett. "This is Donnie Jones. His mom, Melissa McKinney, is a Ferguson activist. Donnie was found hanging from a tree in his mom's backyard on 10/17/18. The police didn't investigate but called it a suicide. But Donnie has just bought property to sell, and his mother knows this isn't true. Donnie Jones was murdered. His lynching was no suicide." And that was written by, or typed by, or texted by Eugene B. Johnson. And then we've got a Shonda Prescott Weinstein. Hashtag Donnie Jones was lynched. Write about it. Jones's death has once again stirred conversation about various other activists in Ferguson who have died since 2014 under seemingly suspicious circumstances. In 2014, Donnie Jones, DeAndre Joshua, 20, was found shot once in the head and then set on fire. He was set ablaze inside his car the same day a grand jury refused to indict Darren Wilson in the shocking death and shooting death of Michael Brown. Prominent Ferguson activist Darren Seals was also found dead inside of a burning car back in 2016. He also had been shot. And there was the 2017 death of Edward Crawford, the activist captured in the iconic photo tossing a canister of tear gas away from those protesting Brown's death. Police claim that he died of a self-inflicted wound while in the backseat of his own car. Hashtag Donnie Jones is at least the fourth person related to the Ferguson uprising to die in more than suspicious circumstances. This is a pattern, continued Brittany Packnett on Twitter, October 31st, 2018. Essence continues to conclude with Essence has reached out to McKinney's for comment and will update the story as more information becomes available. So, there you have it. They lynched this boy. Don't ask me who. And if you do, I'll give you what I've concluded, which is that he was lynched by someone who has an agenda, most likely, definitely a white supremacist who has an agenda. And, you know, it's really crazy because there were 10 murders in 10 days in St. Louis. 6 of them took place in the first 24 hours. And it scared the crap out of me, and it still does. And this was just recently, within the past few weeks. It's actually why my ex-acquaintance and I broke up. It was a guy, he's a guy I was getting to know, and he is white and Latino, and most people would only know him as white. And we actually got into it because he told me he didn't really care about the murders, and he didn't feel like there was any reason to tell me, his black girlfriend. But, you know, we're living in a time in which white supremacy, you know, people aren't talking about this, but membership to white supremacist groups is on the rise, and those include the alt-right or alternative right. Don't let anyone lie to you and tell you that they're not the alt-right, and that they're not a white supremacist group. That's exactly what they are. They don't like women. They're anti-feminists. They're anti-integration, anti-everything. They believe in apartheid, and to be honest with you, they believe in even more than apartheid, because at the end of the day, although apartheid is kind of I do believe worked into the apartheid system is eventually the death of all other cultures, or the genocide of all other cultures except, or ethnicities except the white race, as they put it. But and just so people are aware out here, race is something we all share that's similar. Our race is exactly the same as everyone else's, unless you want to get into Neanderthals versus non-Neanderthals. But when it comes to your ethnicity, does not determine your race. So if you didn't know, your ethnicity is whether you're black or you're white or you're Asian, your race is the human race, whether or not you're human or a hominid or whatever. It's just really crazy to me. You know, another thing that's crazy is that the only citable sources I could find to research this topic and this story were black news entities. And that is very unfortunate, because it shows that we still don't matter to the public. I mean, if I've never, in my life of being alive, you know, in my life, I'm 24 years old. I just turned 24 October 5th. I'm 24 years old. Never in my life have I ever seen or heard of a white boy being lynched. I've heard of a white guy hanging himself. I've heard of white boys hanging themselves and killing themselves. I've never heard of a white male being lynched, a white woman being lynched. Never heard of it, being hanged. But I've heard of 14-year-old boys in the South, black boys, being lynched, found hanged in trees, and as the strange fruit is hanging, blowing in the summer breeze, winter breeze, autumn breeze, spring breeze. To be quite honest with you, it's the only fruit that grows all year round. You know, people are claiming, and police are claiming, and authorities are claiming these are suicides. Even a 14-year-old black boys, never. I mean, it's crazy. It's really crazy. And we've got people out here spewing these talking points of, you know, well, the Democrats have done nothing for blacks. They've done nothing but hurt blacks. The Democratic Party has definitely hurt blacks. The Republican Party has definitely hurt blacks. Which one has hurt them more? So I only say that not to deter people from leaving the Democratic Party, but to deter people from just willingly and unwittingly going to the Republican Party without doing their research. You know, just because a lot of the time, the person in your ear telling you about what this person isn't doing for you, that person in your ear is usually doing worse to you. I feel so horrible for Miss McKinney's. I mean, to think that these people claim this is a suicide, and that any 24-year-old would ever, a 24-year-old young man would ever hang himself in full view of his mother. When she wakes up in the morning, she sees his body hanging from a tree. That's what he wanted to do in her backyard? No. He was murdered. His pants were also hanging at his ankles. That wasn't mentioned in the article. My mom showed me the pictures that weren't blurred. And we also seem to live in a time in which a lot of black people will say to me, and others, the only problems we as black people face are the ones we create of our own. And they explained this after I asked them to elaborate, as meaning we as black people pull our own problems on ourselves by putting the negativity out in the universe. By thinking of our place in our oppression and repression, we are putting ourselves in that state of oppression and repression. I don't get it. Seems like a paradox to me. Which one came first, the chicken or the egg? Something had to have come first. It's just an unfortunate situation when you try and take blame that's not yours. That's not how karma works. Life doesn't work that way. I'm going to take blame for things that I didn't even do so that I can get more benefit. You're not going to get more benefit. You're going to get more trouble because you signed up for it. It's really messed up. Look at the Republican Party right now. They're suppressing our votes. Hundreds of thousands of voters in one state alone are being repressed and suppressed. And that's only what we know of and whom we know of in regard to this scandal. It is very unfortunate. We see what the Republican Party wants to do with our votes. They want to take them away. They want to make it harder. They've taken polling places out of hundreds of counties all over the country. They've taken certain guidelines away that provided for incentives or for leeways or loopholes for people. Not loopholes, but made it easier for people to, go about their process. They're basically making it harder. They're making up things that don't even make sense and saying that these are the reasons that we should, or these are the processes that should be, which should be followed to be able to vote. When at the end of the day, none of those things were required before. That's why they have to make a law for it. We live in an age where propaganda is spread so furiously, so fiercely, and a lot of it is ethnic divisiveness. It's intended to divide us ethnically and socially.